4 rot. Show me the number, please.
Yeah, it's one.
6 grün. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Antholz. The weekend is well and truly underway with the new and improved stadium full and a really electric atmosphere. Plenty of anticipation around this last weekend of World Cup racing before the World Championships and of course ahead of next year's Winter Olympic Games with Antholz hosting the biathlon races. The action comes thick and fast this weekend and it's the men's relay which is next. 21 teams on the start order. We do have one DNS though as we take a look down the start list. So just 20 teams starting today. 4 athletes in each team tackling the 7.5 kilometres and 2 shooting stages. And once again, alongside myself, Ellard is former Team USA biathlete Chad Salmela. And Chad, really, there's only one place where we can start, and that is reflecting on an emotional day here yesterday as Talierberg announced his retirement after 16 years on the World Cup circuit. A 15th career win was what triggered the announcement, him saying that in a very emotional post-race interview that he wanted to wait for a win, and he joins his younger brother in calling time on an illustrious career at the end of this season as we'll conclude racing on their home snow, fittingly in Oslo. Chad, there wasn't a dry eye in the house, was there, as we watched some of the really moving footage from the podium?
Yeah, a pretty audacious standard for himself for his announcement. He is known, it seems like he's known this for a while, but sets the World Cup victory as the standard for him to announce. And considering he has 15 wins in 16 seasons, he could have waited a while. But it was a pretty emotional day. I think back to, I call it, his first win 16 years ago, and it's just the history behind both the Boo brothers. And we didn't even know who Johannes Tinus was when Tarja showed up as a 19-year-old and competed at the highest level. So a truly transformative figure in the sport, and it was the emotions were appropriate to the situation.
Yeah, absolutely. 3-time Olympic champion. He made his debut back in 2009, and now 36 years old, joining his brother in retirement come the end of the season. And, well, Chad, we're not too far away from the Austrian border here in northeastern Italy. And, well, the question on the Norwegian team's lips is, well, how do you solve a problem like the French relay team? They've been absolutely dominant this season, going now for 4 back-to-back wins for the first time in their history.
Yeah, I think they're kind of shooting a little bit on emotional charge and luck, because they put in Vetle Christensen, who has basically been left off the World Championship team, and rightly so. He has not really earned a spot on that team. But for this relay today, they're going to put him last. It's a familiar lineup. Sturlaholm Legreid, Tarja Boo second, Johannes Tinus Boo third, and Vetle Christensen in the last spot. And it's a gamble, I think. But it is a nod to the grand old days when Norway was unbeatable, because this was kind of the magic group for the relay. But the question will be, can Vetle Christensen handle the task?
Well, that will be the big question. We, of course, saw it previously. I believe it was Hochfilzen when for Bjorn Sørlund who of course has gone on to really show his strength and consistency this season, but on the second race stop, he was the one who was the anchor leg and just couldn't match and handle the pressure of the French team. So is it a risk putting Sjostad Christensen last in the order?
Relatively speaking, no. I think if you're going to put him in this relay, that's the order he should go in, is the last spot. You get the team, possibly get him a lead. But, and this, I should say, this doesn't go without precedent. I think back to the 1992 Olympic Games in Albertville. Germany put a 41-year-old Fritz Fischer in the final leg. Fritz Fischer was nowhere near, he wasn't even close to Sjostad Christensen level, but he was so fast on the shooting range at that time. They won the gold medal with an amazing performance by Fritz Fischer himself. So I've seen this before, and I think that, you know, it's an interesting play. I'm kind of surprised. I wonder what kind of team dynamics it created in the Norwegian team this week.
So Vetle Sjostad Christensen on the anchor leg for Norway, and he'll be facing off with the anchor leg for France and the spokesperson, you have to say, for this French team, Emilien Jacquelin. It's France who wear bib number 1, Norway to Sweden, who haven't been off the podium in the relays we've had up to this point in the 24-25 season of the BMW IBU World Cup. They haven't failed to make a podium in any of the races. They were second in Ruhpolding, world champions, but no wins since then. They'll look to improve that today, but they will have to overcome a formidable French team. Boy poised and ready to go. Underway in the men's relay here in Antholz. It's France who wear bib 1, Norway 2, Sweden 3, Germany who are on the podium for the first time this season in Ruhpolding wear bib number 4, Slovenia who have been resurgent this season with a 4th place and a 5th place in Hochfilzen and Ruhpolding respectively wear bib number 5, USA with no podiums. You have to go back quite some margin. Back to the 1987-88 season, they wear bib number 6. It's Ukraine 7, Finland 8, Czechia, who we've got half an eye on today, Chad, after some good performances from the last 2 race weekends.
Yeah, it's funny. We've been talking about Norway. Norway is still in the headlines and changed the narrative based off stuff off the course with their Tarjei Bø retiring and Christensen getting the nod today. But the real story is France, and then basically you've got France, Norway, and Sweden. And maybe Germany in there, trying to duke it out for their podiums. But you've got a bunch of teams that are probably capable of reaching the podiums if any of those, if Germany or Norway or Sweden slips a little bit. I don't expect France to slip too far back with their performance of 3 straight wins this year. But I think Slovenia, Czech Republic, United States, Ukraine, and Finland all make a really compelling race for a potential podium finish for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, the USA have all 4 of their athletes in the sprint through to the pursuit, which will be the final race here tomorrow afternoon. And Jake Brown, who has been the regular anchor, finding himself in a good position in the sprint as well. A strong finish from him.
Yeah, finally getting a nice look at this course in Antholz. The sprint competition doesn't give us a lot of opportunities to focus on the course. We saw a little bit more course coverage on the women's pursuit earlier today, but this is a very nice shot of the course. It's a nice gradual climb out of the stadium. This is nearly the high point already here. They'll dip back down towards the stadium, come close to the stadium, then head back up 1 more climb, or 2 more climbs. It's basically a 3-climb loop here in this 2.5 kilometer loop. Here's the turn into that second climb, and the first time check should be coming up momentarily at the 0.8 kilometer mark. Actually, this will be the 2.2 kilometer mark, I believe.
Yeah, it was Victor Blunt and Sweden who led through 0.8 of a kilometre. Still, there's 20 athletes who have started today, travelling as one big mob. Just 5 seconds separating Victor Blunt and then George Buta of the Romanian team down in 20th.
Blunt has seemed to become the mainstay for the first leg of the Swedish relay, regardless of what happens. He's had a penalty loop and had a pretty rough start, but he's, Sweden, they have to rely on somebody to take out their 3 veterans, and Brandt seems to be the guy.
Up alongside him, though, is Dmitro Podruchny, who after a slight drop of form in Ruhpolding is back in the flower ceremony in the sprint.
no real high pedigree besides Fabian Claude for good number 1 for France and Sturla Holm Lagride from Norway. Nobody really in the top 10 of the World Cup standings in this first leg besides those two. So it's a fairly non-celebrated group of athletes at the front of this first leg of the relay. And I think a lot of teams have done that. They've tend to put maybe their second or third fastest skier into that first leg because of this very first lap. We know that they don't typically go out very hard, and you don't see Fabian Claude nor Sturla Holm Lagride forcing the pace. So it's a smart play by the rest of the teams to maybe put their best people in the second and third positions and try to just put somebody who's not quite as fast on the skis and hope they shoot well to keep them competitive. And we've seen that happen. Got Dmitry Pedrucci for Ukraine, their best skier. So that's kind of an anomaly to what I just said. But Maxime Germain going for the United States in bid number 1. Hornig for Czech Republic, going first for them. Justus Strelo going first for the German team. Michal Dovzhan for Slovenia, going first for them.
And it's Fabian Claude who is back onto the shoulder of Sturla Holm Lagride, Victor Blanc and Maxime Germain.
One thing we're seeing here in this first leg, as we just discussed the pedigree of the first leg, is you're seeing it spread out a little bit. And I think that's, again, a little bit of the altitude speaking. When you get to this high altitude, the people with greater capacity and more near the front of the World Cup field, normally at normal altitude, may string out the group a little bit more on this first lap at the altitude of Antholz. And you can see it already, the damage now being done by Sturla Holm Lagride at the front of the field. And most of the athletes who are closest and have the fastest ski speed near the front of that group as well, including Maxime Germain. Currently third coming into shooting.
So into the first of 8 shooting stages and the first of 2 for these lead athletes. Starting with the prone position.
Lots to follow this first shooting stage. The graphics come up and you just start seeing shots going down, but try to make some sense of it here as Lagride lines up on point number 2, France on point number 1.
Switzerland and Germany quick to get away. It's a miss for Victor Blanc and a miss for Sturla Holm Lagride. 2 misses for Sweden. France with a miss as well. Austria one away from going clean. Ukraine have gone clean. Germany clean. Slovenia clean. Switzerland now clean.
I think it's going to be Germany taking the lead. Strelo is very quick. Norway in big trouble.
Yep, this is so uncharacteristic for Sturla Holm Lagride, who is such a solid option for the lead-out leg of this Norwegian quartet, who found themselves off the podium in Ruhpolding and, will want to desperately find their way back onto the podium, and if not, try and disrupt some of this excellent form that the French quartet have had.
So Strelo leads for Germany. Pedrucci clean. The first 5 athletes with perfect shooting. Fabian Claude, the first one with a miss. He had an extra round. But trails only by 9.5 seconds. That's really quick shooting with an extra round for Fabian Claude in France. They're 9 seconds back with Norway another 9 seconds further back in 18th, and the United States out second to last with a penalty loop for Maxime Germain.
Yep, that is not how the USA would have wanted to start their day at all. The final team out of shooting 1, and 40 seconds separating the 20 teams who have started today, with 10 seconds between the top 7.
Pedrucci second, Dovzhan of Slovenia third, Adam Runnels of Canada in 4th. Pedrucci, the fastest of the people at the front of the field, at a -2 rating in his skiing. And he's going to catch Strelo very quickly. He made up those 3 seconds, and now we'll move into the lead. France already making Fabian Claude moving from 6th already up into the 3rd and leading that chase group. And here's Lagride now. A little bit in trouble, not massively in trouble. 18 seconds isn't anything for Lagride to worry about. He can probably make up most of that just on the ski speed against everybody except probably the Frenchman, who's already moved back to the front of the field.
It'll be Fabian Claude who hands over to Eric Perrault, who's back in the quartet after missing out in Ruhpolding. This is now the same order that the French held for Kontiolahti and Hochfilzen, where of course they took top spots, unbeaten in the men's relay so far this season.
Ellard has taken 12 seconds off of his deficit from the shooting range to this point, and Claude has taken 9 or 7 seconds out of that deficit. So Ellard moving the fastest on the skis in this group, and he's already right on the back of the lead pack. There's Ellard, center right of your screen. Just came off the screen, but he'll be right there. There's Ellard for Norway.
Yeah, you can see him move wide with the intentions of surpassing those ahead of him.
Ellard, a 96% prone shooter, so very odd to have missed 2 shots and had 2 extra rounds, 88% from the standing position. Weakest link I see on this leg for standing is 73% average for Victor Brandt of Sweden. He's still in this pack, right at the front of the group.
Well, he's on the far side and
yeah.
3 back. You can see him up against the advertising hoarding and that chain that's moving on the far side of the screen. It's the lead is held by Produchny.
Yeah, Produchny sensing that he needs to put a little bit of time on the rest of this group. He knows he's stronger skier than most of the people still in the top 10 here that I still have contact, and you can see that that pace is starting to matter and dropping people off the group.
So the next time check we'll get will be the 4.7 kilometre mark, and well, you could already see the distance that Sturla Holmla has made up, leaving shooting 1 in 13th, 18.7 seconds back.
Yeah, it's such a crazy dynamic. If you miss shots or you have a penalty loop in that first leg, it's so hard to get back into it in this relay. You have to take the long. Haul. If you're Maxime Germain, you just try to manage the ski effort and get back with clean shooting. The best way is to come into your second shooting stage and just knock them down, because you can't do anything about anybody else.
Yeah, I'll take a look at this. Sturla Holmla up into 3rd, climbing 10 places and closing that time gap. He's now right on the back of Fabien Claude, who trails Dimitri Produchny, and a gap starting to open up within this group as well.
Well, that's the advantage you have if you do put one of your top skiers first, is that if you do have a little bit of a shaky start, you can ski your way right back into the race because of the pedigree of the first leg skiers.
So through the 4.7 kilometre mark, Sturla Holmla now leading the way, level with Dimitri Produchny. Fabien Claude half a second down. Felix Leitner up in the mix for Austria. Victor Brandt in 5th. Just a Strelo clean shooting. Sebastian Stolder, Adam Runnels as well. It was Canada who started wearing bib 21, and they're up into the top 10 thanks to the good work of Adam Runnels going clean through the first shooting stage and within 5 seconds off the pace of the leader.
Yeah, Runnels is one of the fastest shooters in the field. He is very talented at shooting fast and clean. You could see that once that Claude and Ellard got to the front of the field, they just kind of stood up. They realized that, okay, we're coming into the shooting range. That's what the altitude does. They come in, they know that they have to, okay, we just skied. We had to increase our ski speed a little bit to catch the leaders again. But right before they went down into that hill and entered the shooting range, you could see them both back off and everybody kind of accordion back together again. And you can see that Ellard has worked hard.
Yeah,
it's on his face.
Yeah, you can indeed. A slight grimace as he comes in, a wince there as he pulls his rifle up to his chest. All regrouped here. A miss for Sweden. Austria with a miss as well. France taking time to get started. Norway with a miss as well. France are 3 for 3. Germany will have to drop into the extra round. Switzerland have gone clean and are now in the lead. Estonia as well. Ukraine going clean. Norway with the extra rounds. France left standing. So the work will now have to be done to get back onto the pace by Fabien Claude.
Avoids disaster, though, does Claude, as Switzerland leads with Sebastian Stolder. Produchny solid, 10 for 10 in seconds. Jacna of Estonia with a miss in 3rd. That's great for him. Ellard in 4th with 3 misses. Strelo with a miss from standing. He has Germany in 5th. All of the top 6 within 9 seconds. Canada having an outstanding start.
Yep, Sebastian Stolder leading the way for the Swiss team, and with a 92% overall accuracy this season, he's in good form. And when we cut to the front of the picture, it will be one that will give a lot of encouragement for the Swiss team as they head towards the home World Championship. Sebastian Stolder leading the way for Switzerland, but not far behind is Produchny. Stella Holmgren is just 3.5 seconds, as we can take a look back at his shooting.
After all of that, still just 25 seconds between the first and 10th place teams. Those 10 teams still in it very much. Ellard really going for it. You could tell that he was in kind of battle mode, just came in and realized he's tired, but he just has to suck it up and try to knock these shots down. He does a good job, very quick with that extra round. Ellard now back at the front of the field, just like that.
Yep, things changing very quickly, but not unexpected as Switzerland and Estonia drop back in place of Norway and Ukraine.
So at 5.8 kilometers, it is Norway leading, Produchny right with them, and Ellard and Produchny have the ability now to pull away from this man. The French team trying to go 4 for 4. Their first ever three-peat, so you can assume it'll be their first ever four-peat if France can pull the win out again today, but they're trailing by 8.9 seconds.
Yep, looking to continue this historic run without having to fight back.
Reynolds for Canada was 9.4 seconds leaving the range, so you can see Reynolds just doesn't have the ability. He's lost 9 seconds already a kilometer into this last lap. As the things heat up at the front of the field, you can see Ellard and Produchny are really trying to drive here. And Claude now moves into third, ahead of Switzerland's Stalder. And Zachna of Estonia in the blue and white and black. Then it's Strelo of Germany, keeping Germany in the picture. Germany has been on the podium this season in the last relay in Ruhpolding.
Yep, their first podium of the season. Italy and Capillari down in 8th. Regular attendees to the podium, but failed to do so far this season.
So the Ukrainians will hand off to their second best athlete on the World Cup standing. Vitaly Manzin ranked 25th in the world. 8th ranked Fillon Maillet will go second for France. Norway's 7th ranked in the world, Tarjei Bø. And Switzerland will look to Joscha Burkhalter to keep things going for them near the front of the field.
Yep, they find themselves in behind Estonia. Is lured on by the coaches. Germany looking to close the gap, but it doesn't seem to be getting any smaller from the last time we saw the German team pursuing the Swiss and Estonians.
I actually think they're going the wrong way. I think Strelo's having a pretty rough last lap here. He's losing time to everybody near him. So Germany kind of on the ropes now as Philipp Horn will go second. Horn is a solid skier. The Germans lacking a little bit of ski speed. Their best skier, Philipp Navrath, going in the last spot. So they're going to have to do it on a good shooting performance. Here's Maxime Germain now from the United States. Was way at the back of the field. And at 5.8 kilometers is moving the United States back near the top 10. Belgian right on his heels, Poland there as well.
Yep, he's taking Florent Claude of Belgium with him. There will be no Belgian representation in the pursuit tomorrow. So one last opportunity to race ahead of the World Championships for the Belgium team today.
Dimitri Produchny matching Ellard stride for stride despite shooting perfectly. Ellard has 3 extra rounds used, so it's about 25-30 seconds of extra round use, and he's opening up a gap on Produchny now. Norway trying to take control of the relay for the first time this season.
Such a reliable first leg for the Norwegian team, and despite dropping 3, another solid performance on the skis, and it will be Norway who hand over in the lead. Tarjei Bø next to take to the circuit. As that final push from Sturla Holmgren has opened up a gap that Dimitri Produchny can't match. There's Vitaly Manzin. There'll be plenty of love around the course for this man.
Produchny's second fastest shooter to Strelo. He's gained 21 seconds on Ellard on the shooting range. So Produchny not able to manage anywhere near the ski speed he needs to challenge Ellard.
So Norway will hand over in the lead. So few times have we said that this season, and it's Talia Buk who picks up the charge. Vitaly Manzin for Ukraine, and Eric Perrault or Quentin Fillon-Maillet is next up for France.
Estonia with a great start. Christos Simmer, 25-year-old, going out next. No ranking this season, has not finished in the top 40 in the World Cup yet. Then it's Burkhalter from Switzerland. And Germany finally tagging off in the 7th spot, 31 seconds in arrears. It's a long way back after leg one, excuse me. Campbell Wright waiting patiently for the United States. Home crowd Italy, 35 back. It's a lot. There's a lot of race left. 35 seconds isn't out of the question. 55 is a bit more of a challenge for Belgium and the United States and Austria.
Plenty of questions though around the drop-off of form for the Italians after 3 podiums last season as a relay team, and they just haven't been able to really break into the top 5 at all.
Yeah, Danielle, the first leg, Daniela Capillari, largely untested as an Italian relay contributor, and he gets put out in the scramble leg, which is always challenging for a young guy who doesn't have a lot of World Cup starts. Talia Buk now at the 8.3 kilometer mark, trips the time.
As Quentin Fillon-Maillet goes into second, already surpassing Vitaly Manzin, but only by 0.7 of a second, the difference between them.
And Quentin Fillon-Maillet has closed half the gap that he faced at the exchange. He was 8 seconds back, now just 4.1 back.
Christos Simmer of Estonia over the 8.3 kilometer mark in 4th. Burkhalter for Switzerland 5th. Kretschmar in 6th. Horn for Germany in 7th. And Lucas Hofer, the very experienced Italian, already gaining 2 seconds, cutting the gap to Talia Buk after picking up from Capillari.
A member of a winning relay team 33 times in his career. His most robust statistic, he has close to that. He's 31 third place finishes in competition, but 33 is a high watermark of all the disciplines in the biathlon repertoire, and he's been a mainstay of this relay team for most of his 16 seasons.
But he has been joined by Quentin Fillon-Maillet, who has wasted no time at all in cutting the deficit that France had when he took over. Now right on the shoulder of Talia Buk. Simmer trying to get within touching distance of Vitaly Manzin, while a group of 5 try and reel him back in.
Nobody in this group really of the ski speed of the top 2. Lucas Hofer, the closest of this group. He and the German Philipp Horn are the 2 classes of the ski speed of this group you see coming through here, and they might be able to keep them even with the leaders, but likely not take time out of the leaders. So the lead 2 teams, no big surprise, Norway and France pulling away from the field already in the early stages of leg 2. Could see a great battle here between the 2 best relay teams in the world, and kind of everybody else racing for the scraps of the last step of the podium.
Well, it's been so dominated by France this season. 3 wins in a row, and they've all been huge wins, Chad. They've, on every occasion, been Emilien Jacquelin allowed so much time to celebrate as he comes across the finish line, but nothing to separate these 2 on the early parts of this second leg. As we come towards, this is the 9.7 mark, and it's Quentin Fillon-Maillet leading 0.7 of a second ahead of Talia Buk, and Vitaly Manzin now dropping 8 seconds off the pace of our 2 leaders.
The French shooting performance has really been pretty stellar. If you look at the first one, they almost shot a perfect 40 for 40. They went 0+2 to win by 25 seconds over Norway. That was the first relay in Kontiolahti. Not quite as solid in Hochfilzen, where it was a little windier, a little trickier conditions. They went 0+10 and then 0-6 the last few seasons. But not a penalty loop run yet this year by the French team in a relay. That's a pretty nice statistic.
And as individuals, they'll have something to prove after yesterday as well. The highest placed French finisher in the sprint was Eric Perrault in 8th. So plenty of work to do, and then you have to go down quite some way before you find Emilien Claude, Emilien Jacquelin off the back of that, and Quentin Fillon-Maillet as well. So it wasn't their best day in the office, and looking to right the wrongs today as a quartet.
As in approaching the shooting range, 10 seconds back. Losing time at every checkpoint.
And almost synchronised, but it's Norway and Talia Beau who have to go into the extra rounds. France are away with Quentin Fillon-Maillet. Ukraine are away now. They'll go together with Norway, Vitaly Manzin and Talia Beau, with Manzin just edging it as they come out of the third shooting stage. And it will be a 7.6 second gap and then a further second back to Talia Beau. Quentin Fillon-Maillet leading for France.
Look at Estonia. Estonia stays in the top 4, in 4th position. Unbelievable start for them. Renee Zakna, the highest ranked athlete on that crew, is ranked 63rd in the standings. No other of the quartet for Estonia have any top 40 finishes this season. And they're sitting in 4th, 33 seconds back. It's a huge performance for the Estonians.
2 top 10 finishes this season in Hochfilzen and Ruhpolding, but not finished higher than 9th as a team this season, and you have to go a long way back for the last time they bettered that.
There's Campbell Wright for the United States, getting them back into the top 10 in 8th spot. Got the exchange at 55 seconds back, now just 51 back, so actually making time on the leaders is Campbell Wright. It's a good start for him.
Yeah, he was the weak link in the USA team the last time they had an outing as a squad. That was in Ruhpolding, where illness got the better of him, and the USA tumbling down the order on that day.
The shooting of Quentin Fillon-Maillet. Nicely done by him. Seeing a very similar shooting performance so far from this men's relay field as we saw in the women's pursuit. They're not akin events because of the extra rounds, but still the shooting still very much clean in this competition. The only teams with penalties are the United States in 8th, Austria in 10th, and Sweden in 11th, but the United States just 3 extra rounds. So so far Campbell Wright going clean and moving the United States up the order into 8th, right behind 10 seconds out of 7th and Czech Republic.
Talia Beau has closed the gap on Quentin Fillon-Maillet. Vitaly Manzin falling further back though, now 12.2 seconds.
So now Seymour has to try to keep pace with the Czech, Italian, and Swiss skiers. The Czech skier is Michal Kritzmar, very skilled and experienced, 34 years of age, of the Olympic medal to his credit. And -2 skier, the Estonian, at +1, so his work cut out for him today.
Well, what has become a very familiar sight this season, a Frenchman skiing alone at the front of the order in the men's relay, and it's Quentin Fillon-Maillet working his way up this climb, and he'll turn and into the descent.
And you know, you have to wonder how Talia Beau is going to hold up today. He won, like I said before, it's very hard to win. When you win, it takes a lot of extra energy. You go to the flower ceremony, you answer press, and then he's had a very emotional post-race sort of schedule for himself, and just getting yourself up to have another great performance in a relay against a guy like Quentin Fillon-Maillet, who's obviously very hungry to keep France in the lead position. But Beau doing a good job so far, making up time on QFM from shooting 3 to the 10.8 kilometer mark.
Germany and the USA, Philip Horn and Campbell Wright, not too far off the back of this group of 4 who have been travelling together now for quite some time, although they do appear to be dropping Kristo Sima of Estonia, who just can't quite match the pace required, and it won't be long before he gets swallowed up by Philip Horn and Campbell Wright, who are cutting the deficit themselves.
Horn and Wright nearly equals on the skis. A real big difference between the 2 of them, but they are faster than on statistically of everybody ahead of them except the two men at the front, Fiumae and Bö. Manzin a 1% slower than Campbell Wright. Manzin a very accurate shooter though, as Ukraine at the exchange, and still currently no penalties for Ukraine at this point. No missed shots.
And the gap is now back to 7.8 seconds, so while in the middle of this lap it did look like Talio Bö was cutting time to the leader, it's now back similar ballpark to where they left shooting 3. So losing time over the course of the last kilometre and a half as Vitaly Manzin loses another 10 seconds on the French leader.
Yeah, it's not terribly surprising. Manzin may be having a little bit of a struggle with the skis today, but statistically he is a couple percent slower than the leaders. That's not surprising. Overall looking good on the skis for Italy though, forcing the issue at the front of this group, trying to maybe tire them out and maybe hold off the Germans and the Americans who are working together to catch them.
Such a stable team. Last season, 3 podiums, but none so far this season for Italy. They do find themselves up into 4th though.
And maybe the pressure will just get so great between these 2 teams that they crack at some point, and Tommaso Giacomello will be in position to pounce in the last leg, but still a lot of racing to happen.
Oh, lovely rhythm from Quentin Fiumae, and he's away.
And Talio Bö struggling with that performance right in front of his face. Then he stabilized and misses 2. Open door for Ukraine now for 2nd spot. Talio struggling.
Miss for Ukraine as well though, Vitaly Manzin. Talio Bö with 2 rounds to hit this final shot. If not, he'll be off to the penalty loop.
And Manzin struggling. He crouches just a little bit, means his legs are probably shaking from the effort of skiing. And Talio Bö now in trouble with trying to stay out of the penalty loop. Gets it. Nobody chasing no clean either. Look at the red dots all behind him, except for the Czech Republic.
Yep, Czechia though with a miss though. Estonia with 2, Germany now with a miss. It's standing shoot.
And Campbell Wright goes clean for the United States. He's not going to be in it time-wise, but putting the United States back near the top 5. They should come out in 5th or 6th.
And look at the way he's flown round the corner behind Vitaly Manzin, and well, that is an American with plenty of intent.
Campbell Wright had a little bit of illness in route pulling and pulled out of the mass start, but now already back on form, skiing very well, putting the United States back 1 minute back, but still in the top 5 now again, where they've finished 6th twice this season and looking for their best finish of the year now.
Belgium, one of the few teams to go clean in shooting 4.
So Ukraine was clean up until now. They were the only clean team so far in the race. And Vitaly Manzin, though, with 3 extra rounds, scuttles that effort.
Well, look how fast Sweden are back. 97 seconds. Jesper Nälin in 11th, leaving shooting 4. And so much of this season, Chad, it's been a case of leave it to Sebastian Samuelsson, but 1 minute 37, that's a big gap to close.
I forget what it was in route holding, but they've done it before, but 137, you want to stay about a minute 15 back at the halfway mark. 137, and if Nälin loses more time, which he likely will, to this man by the final exchange, it's just a little too much for Martin Ponsiluoma to come back from, especially considering the pedigree of the athletes ahead of him. Eric Perrault, Johannes Tinges Bö, and Johannes Kuhn for Germany. The United States will send out Sean Doherty. Ukraine will have Anton Duchenko, who's 33rd in the standings. Czechs will send out the junior world champion Jonas Maracek. It's a pretty solid group of people for that kind of time to be made up by Martin Ponstoloma, and you can't keep relying on that either as a team.
And Martin Ponstoloma making his 200th World Cup start today, and well, his best performances this season they have come in the relay. A strong leg as a part of the team in Ruhpolding as they finish second.
Heading towards the third leg, as I said, Eric Perrault will take over duties for the French in the third leg, and he will hand off to Emilien Jacquelin, who has crossed the line no further back than first all 3 times this season. And he's kind of had the nice job of having a nice lead. He's never been really under the pressure from anybody. So can the French deliver Emilien Jacquelin another big lead for the 4th straight time this year? It's going to fall on the shoulders of Eric Perrault to do that.
And he will have to go, of course, up against Johannes Tingersbø, who will receive the baton from Tarjei Bø.
Most of this time to Quentin Fillon-Maillet, lost in the shooting range. Tarjei Bø looking a little bit fatigued off of the effort in the win for the sprint, but still delivering. The Norwegians are not in any kind of trouble yet, and if even just a hiccup happens on the French side, Norway's going to be there to pounce. And don't forget, Johannes Tingersbø is coming up next. That's Campbell Wright going past Ukraine, and his foe in the blue bib fight, Manzin and Campbell Wright, the youth battle there between the United States and Ukraine. The United States moves into 4th now.
You could just tell the way that Campbell Wright came out of the shooting range. He had eyes piercing through the back of Vitaly Manzin and has now eased past him. Out on the course as we're back with our leader, Quentin Fillon-Maillet.
And the American has supplanted some pretty strong skiers. Mikhail Kritzmar, he's leaving in his wake there as well. Kritzmar is a solid skier with a lot of experience. So the United States in a just off the podium position, but still a long fight back to the about 10 seconds back from the podium. And Lucas Hofer, who is also a very formidable skier, we'll see what shakes out there in the next kilometer. But at the front, Quentin Fillon-Maillet has been just about perfect. Well, perfect. He's 10 for 10. 3 missed shots in the day so far for France. Through the first 2 shooting stages and 4 stages or 4 bouts of shooting.
And 35.7 seconds back now is Tarjei Bø.
And look at the misses. 4 more misses on the range, and that's pretty much going to be that. That's going to be the time gap when you have 4 misses comparatively.
And the French will have a commanding lead as Eric Perrault picks up the charge back in the French team after missing out in Ruhpolding. He replaces Emilien Claude.
Gap was 35 seconds at the 14.7 kilometer mark. Here comes, oh, Boo's going the wrong way. Oh no, are they going through the range?
You panicked me for a second there, Chad. I think everyone is still getting used to this new configuration in Antholz, and thankfully for everyone involved, he hasn't quite cut any corners there, but he will.
No, I was worried. Yeah, I was worried that they were supposed to go behind the shooting ranges, which is what they do in Holmenkollen, so it threw me off there a little bit.
They will go up the ramp and around, but that will be the final leg athlete who does that towards the finish line. And well, we are 2 legs away from that at this point as Italy hand over Lucas Hofer over to Elia Zeni, and well, Italy in the podium position, the final one, they're in 3rd, and well, they haven't finished on the podium since Soldier Hollow at the end of last season. It was one of their 3 podiums in the 23-24 season. Johannes Kuhn picking up the baton for Germany. He's got some work to do if he's to help Germany reach a successive podium after failing to do so for the start of this season until we reached Ruhpolding, where they managed to find a way onto the 3rd spot for the first time this season and really boost the home German crowd.
Estonia falling back now to 9th. They'll hand off to Jakob Kulbin. Finland running in 10th, Sweden in 11th at 138 back. So Ponstoloma with a gargantuan gap to close. He's done amazing things in this relay. In fact, I would say that Martin Ponceloma's best results this year have come in the relay, but you don't notice him because he's comes charging through the field in the relay. Can he do it again today? He put Sweden back in contention. Sweden has been on the podium all 3 relays, and they've been in this precarious situation every single time up to the 3rd leg. And then they come roaring back with Samuelsson and Ponceloma in the 4th and 3rd legs, respectively.
And at times, they, when Martin Ponceloma hasn't quite hit the form that we saw him hit in Ruhpolding in the relay, they've had to come back with just Sebastian Samuelsson. It would be a gargantuan effort to leave on the shoulders of the 27-year-old who takes the final leg for Sweden. But Martin Ponceloma on his 200th World Cup start will need to find some good form in the range if he's to complement that blisteringly quick ski speed that he boasts. Doherty in 5th for the USA, pursued by Kuhn and Malachek.
Just looking at the athletes, Zeni from Italy is currently ranked in the World Cup standings in 65th. Sean Doherty just ahead of him in 59th. And then Dudchenko of Ukraine, much higher ranked athlete. He's 33rd in the overall World Cup standings. And Johannes Kuhn of Germany in that group as well is 28th. So really, then Marachek, the Czech skier, the 23-year-old, he's 39th. So really the classes of the field is Marachek and Kuhn in that chase group, and then Dudchenko right in there as well for Ukraine. They're the strongest skiers and highest ranked athletes of that chase pack. Now Johannes Tingesbø trying to take down a 37-second advantage at the exchange. Managed to take 3 seconds out of Perot at the 15.8 kilometer mark as they're approaching the 17.2K mark now. Big effort for this guy. Zeni has to go up against Johannes Tingesbø and Eric Perot to keep Italy in the mix, as well as having been chased by Dudchenko, Kuhn, Marachek, and Doherty. 4 teams trying to chase the young Italian down for the podium spot.
Yep, the instruction, I'm sure, of the coach will be just don't look behind you at this point. With this fast-moving pack led by the American in the distinctive race suit.
Doherty, a couple percent slower than the rest of these guys. Doherty has also been a very experienced athlete since he's a junior. He has the most number of medals as a youth or junior competitor in the United States history with, I believe it was 6. And he is a great junior competitor, so he's proven himself in championship competition. But now in a really exciting race for the United States to try to get to the podium for the first time since, I believe it was 1988, you said. It was the...
Yep, 97-98 was the last season that the USA had a relay podium in, and I believe it was Ruhpolding where they last finished on the podium.
87-88, not 97.
Oh, 87, yeah, sorry, 87, yeah 87-88.
Yeah, so it's a long time since they've done it, since they've been this high in the relay, and consistently the United States currently ranked bib number 6. It's a sign that they're outperforming their individual rankings in the world standings. Yep,
they're a team that when they come together is certainly greater than the sum of their parts. As Eric Perot, the only Frenchman in the top 10 yesterday, and for his first of 2 shoots.
Just trying to hold it together. Near miss at everything out of the left and high. That goes to the center. First 2 shots are near misses on the left side, but the last 3 are right down the pipe. A little bit nervous moments there for those coaches. They wanted to see where that 3rd shot was going to land because the first 2 looked like they were just about going to go out.
Yep, and Eric Perot is out of shooting 5 before Johannes Tingers pulls up to the mat.
Oh, it's the shooting for France. 0+3 to 0+7 from Norway. Any missed shot that Norway takes from here on out, just gonna buy the French precious time. There's a miss.
Oh, 2 misses from Johannes Tingers.
On either side of the prone ring, that tells you that is operator error. He's on the left side, on the right side. That's just poor hold, poor execution on the trigger. 2 extra rounds now for the great one. Very quick to the first hit. Zeni putting a little pressure on the Norwegians now, but very short-lived. Now a race for the podium with Italy's Zeni trying to hold off. 4 teams. 5 teams all laying down to chase him. And he starts with a miss for Italy, and the home team is
misses.
groaning. Podium spot wide open for all of these teams. 6 teams in the range.
Miss
United
for
States with a
USA.
miss. Germany's going well.
So
Ukraine's going well.
Yep, and Ukraine are away. Germany will follow. Sweden pull up with Martin Ponsaloma.
And Italy comes in third and leaves last of the chasers. Sweden already in the shooting range now, but it is third place. In Ukraine, it takes the third spot with Kuhn right in tow, and then the Americans and the Czechs chasing another 5 seconds back. It's a great race for the third spot.
And 30 seconds between Johannes Tingersbo and Anton Dudchenko.
Marcik and Doherty, oh, sorry, I was just going to say, Marcik and Doherty did a really good job of keeping the United States and Czech Republic relevant with that miss. They only got out of there with a 5-second loss with that extra round. That was really great by both of those athletes. Sorry.
No, complete agreement. You look, though, at the misses and the extra rounds from the Norwegian team. Ukraine with much better shooting on the day.
Yeah, the United States with a 1+4, but the +4 is the difference. There are very few extra rounds despite that penalty loop by Maxime Germain. Germain cleaned his standing, and then Sean Doherty and Campbell Wright goes clean as well, and Sean Doherty with just 1 extra round so far. So just 4 extra rounds, which is only 1 more than the French leaders, but the minute difference there is that penalty loop. 46 seconds back now.
Yeah, it was 50.5 when they left the range. So 4 seconds taken up by Johannes Tingersbo, but it is still the French with a dominant lead here.
Just trying to watch the body language of these 4. Who's going to take the reins on this chase group? It's this is a great performance by all the teams. Now Zani's trying to get back on the back of that group for Italy. He had the 3rd place spot and now is in 7th. It's very tight on time.
Yep, Germany in the driving seats with Johannes Kuhn, Dudchenko tucked in behind, 0.6 of a second between them. Malachek not far off the pace, and Ellard Zani having to fight hard to get back on terms with the quartet ahead.
This is an opportunity for Germany with Johannes Kuhn with a couple of % advantage on all the skiers chasing him to put a little time in the second loop. But remember, that's a double-edged sword for Germany because Johannes Kuhn, though he's a 94% prone shooter, just 69% from the standing position. So even though he can put time on those athletes chasing him, you've got Doherty at 81%, which is quite a bit better. You've got Dudchenko at 85% from standing. And then you've got Zani at 84% standing. So really right now, the Germans in the most precarious position coming to the range, even though they're in a driver's position on ski form out on the course right now.
And looking back through the 18.3 kilometre splits, Martin Ponsaloma in Sweden down in 9th. Now 1 minute 45 seconds off the time of Eric Perrault, who we see around the corner and into your picture now. And well, Chad, that does seem like Sweden's consistency in terms of back-to-back podiums will be slipping out of their grasp today.
Yeah, and the amazing thing about that statistic is that after shooting 5, they came in plus 1.6, and they leave 1 plus 6. That means Ponsalloma's clean, and he's not gaining time. He's actually losing time. So Ponsaloma not showing that kind of amazing form we saw in the last year there where he put Sweden back into it out of basically being completely out of it like they are right now, but he's not making the time he needs. And that, again, might just be the fatigue of 3 weeks straight of racing and this altitude making things tougher on everybody.
We are, of course, on the highest point of the World Cup schedule.
Johannes Tingersbo not able to really make a massive dent into the lead. He's taken 4 seconds back since the last shooting stage on this young man, Eric Perrault, who is one of the classes of the field on the shooting percentages. He's 88 prone and 94% accuracy standing. This is the Frenchman's strong suit right here. Trying to deliver once again for France, the 4th straight win in 4 tries this season.
Johannes Tingersbo has only just gone through the 19.7 kilometre mark and is just inside 50 seconds off the time of Eric Perrault. This is his final visit to the range before he hands over to Emilien Jacquelin.
Wow, a statement, and that's why he's 94% accurate. He's not only comfortable, but he can shoot fast, and that is a sign of some great trigger control by the Frenchman, and this is going to be very, very difficult now for Norway to get inside of, with Emilien Jacquelin getting this much time. It's going to be over 50 seconds, I think, by the end of all said and done.
Yep, a great day in the range for the French team today, who have really shown some strong shooting prowess.
So Johannes Tingesbø just trying to nail down second spot for Norway, because the gap is big coming in. 49 seconds coming into shooting 6. Oh, his hold is very shaky. You can see that he's struggling. No massive performance like Ruupolny, where he shot in about 6 seconds, but he gets all 5 with 6 shots, keeps Norway out of trouble, and then solidly into second.
Well, the pressure was well and truly off that day in Ruupolny when he rattled off 5 shots and 5 hits in, well, spectacular and mostly entertaining fashion. The pressure well and truly on today, and he trails by 57.8 seconds, almost a minute behind the time of Eric Perrault, as now 6 athletes pulling up in the battle for third.
And Ponsaluma has caught this group. Zany starts first, forcing the issue with 2 down very quickly. Ukraine of the miss, United States starts with a miss. Czech is Italy's 4 for 4.
Oh, and Italy are back in it. Excellent from Ellard Zany. Germany not far behind them though. And Martin Ponsaloma and Sweden having to dip into the extra rounds. It's another miss for Sweden. Czechia are now away.
Can I just say how big of a shooting performance that was by Johannes Kuhn, the worst shooter statistically of the group, 60-some%, and he comes in and goes 5 for 5 in under a massive pressure cooker, putting Germany in the near driver's seat. He's got 4 seconds to third. Kuhn should be able to make that up by the exchange. Now Ponsaloma for Sweden, chasing Sean Doherty in 6th and 7th, about 10 seconds off the podium. A little more than that.
Well, Martin Ponsaloma losing time to when he came into shooting 6, but if you look at it, the spread between Martin Ponsaloma in 7th and Ellard Zany in 3rd, he's at 1 minute 40 off the pace, and then 19 seconds separate him and Martin Ponsaloma. So Sweden still in the battle for the podium, but that is mostly due to this group being so far behind the time of Eric Perrault.
Yeah, and just the ski quality. Johannes Kuhn is the only guy even really remotely close to Ponsaloma on the skis, and you see Ponsaloma is using his ski speed and a pretty good shooting performance for him today. 2 extra rounds on the day. He went clean prone, used 2 extra standing, and Ponsaloma has now put Sweden back within striking distance of the podium. They're nowhere near 1 and 2, but they just want to get on the podium for the 4th straight time this year, and they can do it.
So 53 seconds separating Eric Perrault and Johannes Tingesbø through 20.8 kilometers. And well, you can just see on the visuals there just how far Johannes Tingesbø is behind Eric Perrault in terms of the on-course distance.
Yeah, the issue here is they're putting Vetle Sjoste Christensen back into the 4th spot, and I think they would have expected him to perform best if they had a nice lead over France. Instead, he's going to be facing a 50-plus second gap at this point. Boo taking 4 seconds out of Perrault in the last time check, between the shooting range and last time check. So, but still, it's not going to be much more. Best case scenario, 40 seconds back will be Vetle Sjoste Christensen up against Emilien Jacquelin, the number 4 ranked athlete in the world right now. And
an athlete who just loves these races. He loves going out well in the lead of Norway and just really thrives off the rivalry. That being said, though, he's had plenty of lovely words between him and the Bø brothers after the announcement of both of their retirements over the course of well inside the last week. So good friends and off the course, but very much bitter rivals on it.
Yeah, I think the French were probably the singing the praises the highest. They were first in line to sing the praises of the Blue Brothers and all they've done for the sport. And Amelia and Jacqueline truly emotional about them both leading the sport, and I think it leaves a big hole for the French to compete against the Norwegians. They know there's a whole monster group of Norwegians on the IBU Cup ready to step up and challenge them, but it's got to be a little bit tough to see your rivals going away. Now Zany trying to hold off Kuhn. Kuhn has eaten up the gap to Italy from the shooting range. He was trailing by 4 and now on the tails of Zany. Zany doing a great job of holding off Kuhn.
Yeah, well, he'll want to put Tommaso Giacomel in the best position he can. He's, of course, riding the crest of a very good wave of individual performances that have come from off the back of Ruhpolding, and not long after he opened up about the struggles that he's been facing in the early part of the season, not being able to make anything click. And, well, all clicking in time, it seems, for Tommaso Giacomel, who'll be on the final leg for Italy as they look to secure their first podium of the season.
Oh, go ahead.
While on the other hand, as the final exchange for France, it looks set to be 4 out of 4 and a historic day for the French relay team, who continue their dominance.
Yeah, such a nice, we'll start with France, nice position for Emilien Jacquelin to go on 4th straight relay where he's got a lead and he can take it home. Norway is struggling here. They're trying to figure out where has their magic gone. And the answer is I really don't know. On paper, they should be even with France, but they're just not performing at that level. And it's a little bit of a mystery to the Norwegians. But we're used to them being dominant, and they're no longer dominant. It's the French who are dominant. But I want to point out the effort from Ellard Zany from Italy. That is really where Italy needs. They needed him to step up. And they need all 3 to step up, but Zany is kind of in that fulcrum spot to get Giacomel, who's currently on fire, and can give the Italians their first relay podium this season. And Zany has stepped up big time.
Yeah, it would be a huge story to do it on home snow. We've obviously spoken about the drop-off after Norway so dominant in the men's relay for the last 2 seasons. Of course, outside of World Championships, they've went on that incredible streak of wins. And it was noticeable when France obviously started to dominate and started to take win after win. But sort of slipping out of the limelight was the fact that Italy had just sort of dropped off a cliff in terms of performances in the relay after finding themselves on the podium 3 times last season. And
look at Zany and Maracek, though. They've put the time back on Johannes Kuhn. Kuhn could not use his ski speed to drop these guys. And Sweden now in tow, Sebastian Samuelsson lurking right behind.
Yep, and well, of course, one of the other big stories is the fact that Sweden have gone 3 for 3 in terms of podiums. And, well, they have, with some brilliant work once again from Martin Ponsaloma, managed to drag them from the depths. And, well, now more than in contention and arguably out of that group, Chad, you'd have to say the favourites alongside Italy.
Absolutely, yeah. They're now in a position to take that 3rd spot from Italy and everybody else in the mix. Germany is kind of licking their wounds on this one. They think they had the door open, and now they've opened it back up to Sweden. And nobody wants to have Sebastian Samuelsson on their tails in the last leg.
It seems to be the story of this weekend. And the 3 days of action and action we've had today as well is the battle for 3rd place has been quite spectacular. And it looks like we're set for a thrilling finish once again, with 4 teams battling it out for that final podium position.
Just a quick update on the winners of each leg. Quinton Fillon-Maillet outdistancing Campbell Wright for the fastest leg of leg 2. Campbell Wright 2nd, Lucas Hupper 3rd, 15 and 27 seconds slower. But much closer in leg 3. Eric Perrault edging Martin Ponsaloma by 4 seconds. Johannes Tingesbø only able to muster the 3rd fastest time of leg 3, 18 seconds back, mostly due to the shooting range.
And a reminder that there will be extra prize money going the way of each leg winner. The fastest to complete each leg will take home some extra prize money, in addition to the net time in the pursuits, new additions in terms of the increase in prize fund and prize pot, which will once again jump up next season as well.
At the 23.3 kilometer mark, one time check back from where this man just came through. Christensen comes through 59 seconds back. He's lost just 3 seconds, but very interesting situation for Vetle Christensen. I'm not sure what to read into this decision by Norway because he is not on the World Championships team. It might be an effort to rest Uldal and Sørum and Strømsheim, but I have to believe that one of those three would have liked an opportunity at this relay shot. Or is it just a shot at nostalgia for Norway? I'm not quite sure. I haven't read anything or heard anything as to what was the logic behind putting Vetle in this final spot when he hasn't qualified for the World Championship team.
Well, what we do know is there's been plenty of illness going around, a number of the camps, and of course with Martin Uldal missing the last 2 race weekends. He was of course back in the individual races here, but I don't think it's necessarily a surprise not to see Martin Uldal involved, as I'm sure they won't want to rush him too much back into competition after the illness, but particularly for the other two you mentioned, Chad, there's certainly plenty of questions. But,
and hopefully it's somewhere out there in Norwegian language, and I just haven't found it yet. I do scour, most of the media outlets that cover in Norway that cover it, but you're searching in Norwegian language when you're speaking English, and so if there's probably somebody out there who does know the story that why that was out there, and I'm sure it'll come to light. But interesting. Regardless, of the interesting happening in this Norwegian quartet for this relay.
Emilien Jacquelin for his first of 2 shoots. We'll start with a prone.
Those 2 misses right up high at the top of the corner, telling me that he's not jumping on the trigger. Just setting a little high on the zone, but gets the extra round. Safe shooting by Jacquelin.
Yep, just 1 needed, and he has plenty of time in the bank.
Here's Vetle Christensen. Almost had me wondering today with the showing up, not finding what the explanation was, and then seeing him at the start of it. Maybe he was looking for a win to announce his own retirement, but we won't put the cart before the horse here as Vetle takes aim and does his job. So far 2 for 2, great job by him. Everything right in the center of the target. Classic Vetle Christensen prone shooting, doing his job like a pro.
And that's what the Norwegian fans came to see.
Comes through 56 seconds back, so gaining time on Jacquelin in that shooting stage. Good for him. Gaining 9 seconds from the entrance of the shooting range. Jacquelin trying to deliver now.
Oh, and Sebastian Samuelsson does exactly what Sebastian Samuelsson does. He goes clean, and Sweden are into 3rd. Czechia follow, Italy are finally away after dipping once into the extra rounds. Germany will need to go twice. That will cast them adrift of this trio, but it's almost a duo as Sebastian Samuelsson has 6 seconds on Tommaso Giacomel and Adam Vaclavic.
So critical that Giacomel hit that shot, because if he missed that extra round, it's pretty much over for him. Now he's got a dynamic where he's only 6 seconds back of Samuelsson. He knows he's got the fitness to even butt heads with Samuelsson, who's a very strong skier. Samuelsson not as strong of a standing shooter as he is a prone shooter, 80%, but up against Giacomel's only 73%. So still things leaning in favor of the Swede going out into these last 2 loops and shooting stage. But Giacomel is pretty hot right now. I wouldn't count him out just yet.
No, I'd completely agree with that, Chad. He's in very good form, and if he can keep the momentum going, he's 6 seconds. I'm sure he can be eaten up.
That's right. And, you know, statistics are just things for us as commentators to choke on in terms of performance because, you know, stats are just stats, and it's an average of stuff. And when Giacomello is on a trend that he's on, you can't count him out against Sebastian Samuelsson. Samuelsson's currently a longer trend than Giacomello, but he's also quite a bit older. So he's going to carry a lot more consistency at the top level. But Giacomello maybe can find the emotional charge to catch back up to Samuelsson here. It's just a wink.
So this is 25.8 kilometers. And, well, it's back down now over a minute between Emilia Jacquelin and Vetle Sjostad-Christiansen.
Adam Vaklovic trying to ride Giacomello to maybe something spectacular for the Czechs. Just 53rd ranked. He's at 88% prone shooter, so he's gotten through his best shooting, but Vaklovic just 74%, so not any better at standing shooting than Giacomello. But these two youngsters trying to chase the wily veteran from Sweden. I don't know how Sweden does it, but they're back in podium position. But they're not out of the woods yet. These two young athletes from Czech Republic and Italy, definitely with a chance, but they're going to have to turn the tables a bit on Samuelsson in this last shooting stage.
Yep, Czechia haven't finished in the top 5 since the World Championships in Oberhof back in 2023. And you have to go back to Kontiolahti that season for the last time they finished in the top 5 in the World Cup.
And certainly not with this lineup. This is a pretty untested lineup for Czech Republic, young. But this is a great experience for them as well to be in this position because you need, as I've said before, you need to be in that winning position and not quite do it to get there the first time. They were 7th in the last relay, so that's a solid performance. That's their best one so far this year. But Czech Republic is still with a shot here. An outside shot. They
also do, Chad, have Vítězslav Hornig and Jonas Malacek, who both finished in the top 10 in the sprint.
Right.
So this is sort of a resurgence of the Czech team and potentially really good timing in terms of where they're peaking ahead of the World Championships. But the team who will be taking the most momentum into those World Championships in Lenzerheide, having, well, barring an absolute disaster in the final visit to the range, will be France.
Yeah, that is a great point. The Czechs, the 2 of the 4 Czechs were in the top 10 a couple days ago in the sprint. Yeah. It's a pretty good place to be in a relay, and it explains why they're there. You can see why they're there because they've got the pedigree right now, and you've got to pounce when you have that opportunity, and they're trying to do just that. It's a nice story from the Czech team today.
Oh,
he went down.
Emilia Jacquelin is down.
That was kind of surprising. Really not a tricky corner at all. And just maybe kind of on autopilot a little too much there. Jacquelin woken up by that fall. Now, will that do anything? Will that rattle him for this final shooting stage? He's still holding a minute on Christensen at the last time check.
Yeah.
So he's got an ocean of time to work with.
Yeah, a huge amount. So Vetle Sjostad-Christiansen has only just come past 27.2 kilometres, and he's done so 54.8 seconds down on Emilia Jacquelin, who, despite taking a tumble, is clear. And this is the final shooting stage. He'll have adrenaline coursing through his veins after going to the ground.
Just enough to maybe throw him off. No, answer's really missed. Or the hit, excuse me. Looking very solid.
What was that you said, Chad?
Not phased at all.
And France do it again. 4 out of 4, history made. And, well, nothing, not even a slightly heavy fall on a corner can disturb this French team. Norway, well, they'll be back on the podium, there's no doubt about that. But they won't be able to disrupt this excellent form that France have managed to carve out for themselves. It really is an incredible time to be a supporter and part of that French setup, because they are untouchable.
And great champion in his own right, 15 wins to his career. Sjostad-Christiansen, a little bit of a shadow of his former self, but holding it together well to keep Norway in second, but has to put these down. Almost jumped on that shot. He misses it anyway, and you can see that he's disappointed in that. Biggest thing he's got 2 shots to get this last shot. And he misses again.
Well,
now things getting tough for him as the
Yeah.
other athletes line up, and this would be the worst possible scenario if he goes to the penalty loop, and he doesn't. Gets out of there, but he's still got a hold off Sebastian Samuelsson, who's 3 for 3, 4 for 4.
oh, it's quick from Samuelsson. Excellent shooting, and the Swede is away, and we'll have eyes on Vetle Sjostad Christensen.
And if you know anything about the duel between Sweden and Norway, you know how badly Sebastian Samuelsson wants to move past Vetle Sjostad Christensen, and he's got the power to do it.
Well, away from the course and the circuit, Sebastian Samuelsson always stoking the fire between the Swedish and Norwegian teams. So regularly we see him take to the stage in the Champions Parks and the ceremony podiums, and whenever he's given a mic, he always likes to poke a bit of fun and stoke the fire between the two nations. And it is far from over here in terms of second and third, but it is in terms of who's taken the victory, and it will be another exceptional win for France, who just they can't be troubled. No one can knock them off top spot, as we take a look back at that final shooting stage for Emilien Jacquelin, who with the adrenaline coursing through his veins was unstoppable.
Yeah, that fall I thought might mess with him just a little bit, but he was solid. Very nice shooting by Emilien Jacquelin, and he's going to get to carry the white, red, and blue of France across the finish line. Jacquelin with over a minute 18 seconds. That is a huge gap. But now Christensen in trouble from Sebastian Samuelsson. The gap was 8 seconds at the shooting range.
Yep, and this is the next opportunity we'll have to see if Sebastian Samuelsson has been able to cut the gap. So it will be Vetle Sjostad Christensen who is first across the time check at 28.3 kilometres, and it is now 6 seconds the difference between Sebastian Samuelsson and Vetle Sjostad Christensen, with Tommaso Giacomel just off that time as well. He won't be in contention for a podium today, but this is a big step up for the Italian team. Yeah,
Christensen is thanking his lucky stars that guy wasn't a little bit closer in that last shooting range, because I think Norway would have been possibly facing a fourth place finish if Giacomel even had 8 to 10 more seconds. And Christensen's still doing the job, but you can see Samuelsson, his body language is better. I was going to say, watching Vetle Sjostad Christensen come into the shooting range, he looked really tired coming into the standing shoot, and I thought that wasn't good, but I thought he had plenty of time to hold off Samuelsson, but those misses just cost him. And imagine if he'd gotten a penalty loop. Would have been big storyline in Norway.
Well, that would have really swung things in favour of the Swedish team.
Giacomel not making really any time on Samuelsson, though, from that. Making time on the leaders and on Christensen, but not on Samuelsson. There are your third, fourth, and fifth skiers on the course. Christensen still hanging on. Sebastian's not looking quite as good as he did last picture.
No, sort of by the eyes rather, because we don't have an opportunity for just a little bit longer to see in terms of time what the distance is, but it does just seem like Sebastian Samuelsson is moving slightly more laboured than he was when he exited the range and set on this quest to try and cut the deficit, and it doesn't seem like the gap is being cut. This is the next time check that they'll come to, but it's Emilien Jacquelin who of course is through it well over a minute ahead of them.
I had a 7 count in my head last time I saw it. Doing in my head, obviously it's not very scientific, but now Samuelsson's starting to pick it up a little bit, and Christensen almost looked back. He shouldn't look back, but he almost looked back, and that tells you that he's not feeling particularly great right now. And he's still got a better part of about a 3/4 of a kilometer left to the finish line.
It's such a telling sign, isn't it, whenever an athlete is tempted to take a peek over the shoulder, and when he thought about it, he started to do it, and then quickly readjusted his focus forward. With Sebastian Samuelsson. We are waiting for that 29.7 kilometre checkpoint. Sjostad Christensen is now through it And, well, he's eaten time into Emilien Jacquelin, but there is not much at all between these two. And are we set for a brilliant sprint finish here? Less than 3 seconds between Sebastian Samuelsson and Sjostad Christensen, just over 3 seconds actually, the gap between those two, as Emilien Jacquelin can celebrate with the crowd. He does it once again. This French quartet do it once again. History made, 4-0. France are on top of the world. Back-to-back victories, 4 without a response. And what can you do to stop this French quartet?
And now the battle for second. And if body language is anything, the medal's already around Sebastian Samuelsson's neck. But Vetle Sjostad Christensen, if there's one thing he's known for, it is a sprint finish. So he can rely on his one thing that he's got left in his bag of tricks. But Samuelsson is right up on his tail.
And Sjostad Christensen takes another look over the shoulder. Vetle Sjostad Christensen currently leading for Norway. But Sebastian Samuelsson will fight until the very end. And he now pulls around the side of the Norwegian. And it will be a brilliant sprint towards the line. And, well, it will be the Norwegians who you could just see there. Sebastian Samuelsson knew well before it really erupted into anything that would cause a photo finish that it was going to go the way of the Norwegians. And, well, there's frustration on the face of Tommaso Giacomel, who would have wanted so desperately to put Italy on the podium today. But it is Sweden who once again come from the depths of despair to finish on the podium. Like France, they've finished on the podium for every relay race so far this season. But France unmovable from top spot. And well, what a statement that is going into the World Championships. Norway once again will be back to the drawing board, as will Sweden, because nothing they can do can compete with this French team.
Yeah, they got to come up with something else. I mean, you know, the younger athletes have not performed very well this year. Sørum had a penalty loop. He put Norway out of it when he was in the position in the final spot. You know, and Sjostad Christensen is not an option now for sure for the World Championships. I do like the fact that Vetle held off Sebastian Samuelsson. He used the one thing that he has his reputation for is Switzerland comes across with a very respectable fifth behind Italy, 154 back. But Vetle Sjostad Christensen was put in a pretty tough spot there, I have to say. I don't know what the reason is, and we'll find that out, obviously, between now and the time to come on tomorrow. But, you know, he was put in a tough spot, and he pulled it out off his calling card, a sprint finish. And even in a wounded state, he was faster than Sebastian Samuelsson in the sprint finish. So hats off to Vetle Sjostad Christensen, but hats off to the Swedes, too. I don't know how they do it. They keep coming back and getting on the podium.
And, well, you have to say performance going in the right direction as well for Martin Ponsiluoma, who now 2 race weekends in a row has performed well as the third leg of the Swedish team. And a nod of the head, and I think there was a smile there from Niklas Hartberg as he came over the line. It's the first time that Switzerland have been in the top 5 since Oberhof last season. And just the second time in the top 10 this season for them. Germany not to beat today.
Yeah, the gap back for Switzerland is really good going into the World Championships. They're 0+7, 154 back. You know, you never know what's going to happen in a relay at a World Championships. There's always kinds of emotions. It's a little different than a World Cup because there's so much more on the line. But you know, Switzerland actually has a quartet that, you know, if something goes wrong with those 3 teams at the top of the order, France, Sweden, Norway, they could pounce for a medal at home.
Yep, and the best result of the season as well for Czechia. And, well, that was almost expected, Chad, when we saw, of course, 2 of their athletes finish in the top 10 in the sprint. They're across the line in 6th, and that's their best finish as well since Oberhof of last season as well, similar to Switzerland. They finished 6th on that day as well. And once again, it's the same order today, but just a different occasion here in Antholz.
Yeah, the Czechs were really pretty solid, and you know, it kind of had to remind you a great reminder of me of how the Czechs did in the sprint, and that just makes all the sense in the world when you see the podium lining up there. Sweden once again on it. The same 3 teams that have been on it 3 or 4 times. The German and Norwegians were off the podium last World Cup stop in Ruhpolding were 4th. So a big improvement for them. But yeah, the Czechs they have 2 young guys who really haven't made a splash yet, but they can be stars of the future. Especially when you see so many people probably retiring after next year. That Czech team could come out of the next year's Olympics into the next season as one of the better teams in the field.
Top 10 finish for Finland, and behind them it will be the Austrians, who are next over the line. Jakob going up into 6th for the leg 4 time, which has been won by Sebastian Samuelsson. Tomaso Jacomel coming in 2nd, but he's 22 seconds behind the time of Sebastian Samuelsson for leg 4. Vetle Sjostad Christiansen in 3rd. Emilian Jacquelin is 5th behind Nicholas Hartveg, but no surprise to see Emilian Jacquelin 58 seconds off the time of Sebastian Samuelsson, because he could really pull up and enjoy that final lap with the advantage he gained.
The United States came in into the finish in 9th place. They were as close at exchange 3. They were 209 back and end up 341 back with another penalty loop on the last leg. But the United States, not quite their best performance. Ukraine was in it for a while. They were right ahead of them in 330 back. Germany probably not happy with 7th. I think that they expect to beat Czech, Switzerland, and actually Italy, to be honest. And they're going to have to find some. They've only been on the podium once this season, and with the World Championships coming, they've got to find a better performance as well.
Belgium finishing in 15th, not the weekend that they would have hoped for. None of their athletes making it through to the pursuit tomorrow afternoon. While after a disappointing day in the sprint for the French men, they pull it off once again in the relay. The first time in their history they've gone 4 out of 4 consecutive wins, and they are the team to beat. And the last team to come across the line, this is Royal Floor and Romania, who stayed out of the penalty loop today, 6 times dropping into the extra rounds, and they're across the line in 16th with 4 lap teams and 1 DNS. Well, Chad, as we look back at some of the highlights from the French victory, their 4th of the season, no one able to push them off top spot this season. It's so hard to bet against them when it comes to the World Championships.
Yeah, and they go deep. You could replace almost any one of these 4 athletes, any 2 of these athletes, with the 2 on the bench, and they still might be the favorites if you look at who didn't race today. Emilien Claude started for France last relay and route polling last week, and they still won by 38 seconds over Sweden in 2nd. They can go deeper into the bench and still win, and so could Norway. But at the same time, Norway hasn't done it yet. So with all the announcements of retirements from Norway, there's a huge group of athletes coming up from Norway that we don't even really know the names of, that are on the IBU Cup, that we don't call their names regularly. But the French look like they are the emerging team with the retirement of the Boo brothers coming forward and at the end of the year. So this is the team to beat right now, and that, if nothing says that more than 4 straight relay victories.
Well, the thing I find really interesting about it is when we look at the results from the sprint and just how dominant Norway were. They had 4 athletes in the top 10 of the sprint. France only had 1. But still, as a combined quartet, once again, it is France who they just can't compete with anyone, or no one below can compete with France.
What's happening is Norway they're having a bit of a stumbling block. Look at their shooting today. 0 plus 12 to 0 plus 4. You're not going to beat France with a 0 plus 12. It's just that simple. They got to clean up their shooting, and honestly, it's not even a technical thing. I think it's a psychological thing. I think they've been down now 3 straight losses, and if they have any difficulty at all in the shooting range, it tends to compound, and the pressure tends to build. And that's just biathlon. That's the sport. The Norwegians have enjoyed being the ones not pressured for so many years that now they're getting a little bit of a taste of their own medicine, and they got to figure it out like everybody else. And I think they will. But in the meantime, the French are are feeling it, man. They are on top of the world, and 0+4 is a spectacular shooting performance, and it's the best of the field, and that's why they are nearly a minute ahead. And it would have been a minute if they were racing. They were just celebrating the last lap. Stéphane Bouteilleux, the man in charge of the French biathlon national team on the right there, sort of the manager, so to speak, not the coach, but he's been there for a good 30 years, just a mastermind and knows the sport inside and out. He's doing a great job with this French quad. I mean, the French have probably never been better than they are right now.
And the depth that they have on both sides as well, Chad, when you look at the women's team who haven't had the same amount of success by any means this season, but individually are flying, and seeing some of the young names, Jean-Richard, Ocean Michelon, step up and fill more than comfortably the places in the relay team as others drop down to the IBU Cup. It is a good time for this French team, and they're really moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. If you want to see who's doing well with development in the sport, just go to the IBU Cup and you can see. It's like you're running your JV team, and the people that are winning on the men's side, it's the Norwegians and the French largely in second. But on the women's side and the IBU Cup, the French women are the best there is out there, and they're deep and they're winning everything. Juniors up to IBU Cup, and really the French team has always been good. They've been good for 30 years in the sport, but they've never been this good. And I say, someone might take offense to me saying this is the best French team ever. And I'm just saying, when I say team, I mean team. Certainly when Martin Fourcade was around, Martin Fourcade was phenomenal. But this is a team that has no major standouts. They're just all at a high level. If you look at when the French win, you don't know which French guy's going to win. When it was Martin Fourcade, you knew it was going to be Martin Fourcade, and then some Frenchmen in his wake. But this is a team with parity, with depth, and with precision, and they feel it right now. They have great mojo going into the World Championships. They could do some real damage at this World Championships.
Yep, Fabien Claude, the only in the French quartet today. He doesn't have a win this season. He's the only one on the team without a win this season. Quentin Fillmay, Eric Perrault, and Emilien Jacquelin have all stood on top spot individually. And as you say, Chad, when they come together, I of course understand the point of that there may be some who dispute the fact of this being the greatest French team because of the dominance of Martin Fourcade. But when you look at this team, this is the first time they've ever gone 4 for 4 in terms of relays, and the way that they've completely destroyed the Norwegian dominance, I think it is hard to deny that this is in terms of depth on both sides as well, the strongest French team.
You have a great point, and I think when you do have a star the size of Martin Fourcade, it's very hard for a team to feel equitable. It's very hard for a team to feel mojo for each other. You see Jacquelin fall down but still get back up. And my point is that Emilien Jacquelin loved being on the team with Martin Fourcade, but it's hard to be on a team with somebody you revere so much. And the Norwegians have JT and Tarjei Bø, and that creates some levity between the team, having the brother on the team, and then being really good friends with this guy, Vetle Sjostad Christensen. But as that dynamic shifts with the addition of younger guys that are a decade younger, the dynamic on the Norwegian team shifts. In the relay, you can't deny it. The fact that, and that's probably a little bit of what they were trying to find with Vetle Sjostad Christensen, is trying to find that team spirit again. But the team spirit doesn't matter if you're not at the best shape of your life, and Vetle Sjostad Christensen is not. Whereas the French athletes, they're all firing on all cylinders, and they have great mojo. And the fact that there is no massive star that they all have to live under, they're all equally stars.
It would be easy to lament about this French team and the rivalry between them and the Norwegians, but we have to talk about the man on the left-hand side, and that's Sebastian Samuelsson, who has been carrying this Swedish team and so regularly been the reason why they've ended up on the podium for each of the relay races so far this season. Are you surprised that with these results he's not doing better as an individual?
Not really. I mean, it's tough to be, again, it's just tough to be at this level when the French and the Norwegians have such good mojo.
Emilia, 4 out of 4 wins in the season, simply unbeatable. Like, you're definitely making the history of the French biathlon.
Yeah, that's insane. As we say on every relay, we try every morning to stay focused with humility, but when we're on the track, on the shooting range, we give everyone give his best. And maybe in Antholz we are not the best on the sprint yesterday, but as a team we we expect to each other to be at our best to win every time. So it's great that we are able to still continue like that. Only 4 extra bullet today. I think it's great on this shooting range. So yeah, we can be proud again. And in our history, you know, France, we made it a few times back to back, but 4 times in a row. That's just huge, and we are still proud of that.
You did an amazing job. Congrats.
Thank you.
Chad, it's interesting what he says there about only using 4 extra rounds, as we see him, of course, lift the 4 fingers for the 4 wins unanswered by Norway that France have collected this season. But it is a very good point he makes, because there's no one near to the level of shooting that France showed today.
No, not even close. And that's the thing. I mean, the Norwegians are capable of it. They just aren't able to do it in the current instance. And I want to use Emilien Jacquelin as a sort of a fence post for this French success. Here's a guy with just 4 wins to his name. You know, Martin Fourcade thought he was going to be the next big star, and he hasn't really materialized into that. But I have not seen Emilien Jacquelin more happy than he is this season. And he's not winning individual World Cup victories, but you know, he's got 1. But at the same time, the team is winning, and I think this is what feeds Emilien Jacquelin. And I believe his teammates like to put him in that position, because Jacquelin's fun to be around when he's happy.
That's one of the reasons why I describe him as the spokesperson for the French team, because he is, of course, as the anchor, always going to be the one who comes out and does the media. But on all 4 occasions where he's come out and done the post-race interview, you can just tell how much fun he's having, and with the celebrations each time as well, it's more than evident. And here are the updated relay scores after 4 competitions, and France are completely perfect, 90 points for a win, and so they have the maximum of 360. Norway in second, 280. Sweden just 10 points behind with 270. Germany holding on to 4th. Slovenia 6th. Ukraine 5th even. Ukraine up into 6th. And Italy jumping a huge 4th place, 4 places to find themselves in 7th now after a big performance, despite the frustration, which is more than understandable from Tommaso Giacomo. They would have also wanted a podium today, but climbing up the order in terms of relay scores, which will put them in a preferable position and start bib for the next race. And Italy also climbing up the Men's Nation Cup score as well, rising 3 places up to 6th. Your top 3 though, as expected, France in 1st, Norway in 2nd, Sweden 3rd, and then it's Germany and Switzerland who occupy the berths between Sweden and Italy.
Nice to see the Italians climbing up the ranks. They've got the Olympics next year, and you know, they're not a deep team, and they never have been. They've always had some really strong relay teams. They won a medal, I believe, the first time in 1988 in the relay at the Olympics in Biathlon. That was a big moment for Italian biathlon. They've had some high points since then, but I'm not sure Italy has ever had a male athlete with as much potential to do real damage on the World Cup as Tommaso Giacomo right now, and I think that's an exciting proposition going into next season. And this is exactly the kind of season Giacomo needs. Despite his frustration today, it's the kind of season he needs going into the Olympics to do something great here.
Yeah, you can understand the frustration as well. He so would have wanted to carry on the momentum that he had from the individual podiums last season, winning the overall blue bib. At the time it was for best under 25, still 24 years old and plenty of potential as we look towards the Olympics here next winter. Sweden on the podium for a 4th consecutive race. can't match the seconds they secured in Ruhpolding. Third again today.
If Martin Ponsaloma can't be happy about anything, he can certainly be happy about his relay performances the last 2 weeks. He has been phenomenal, as is Sebastian Samuelson. You know, just it's gritty stuff. I mean, and you have to think about Nalin. You can say that, well, they're not really contributing, but that's the best they've got. That's who they have for personnel. And those two guys in first and second legs, they're doing what they can, and they're putting them in position to get third spot because they could be further back than they are when they tag.
Yep, it is, of course, a team led out by Victor Blant, Jesper Nalin, Martin Ponsaloma, and anchored by Sebastian Samuelson.
Yeah, you know, Victor Brandt, not highly ranked. He's ranked 52nd in the world, but he's getting a lot of hardware this year in this relay thing, and he's doing the best he can. And I'm actually quite impressed with Brandt that he's kept it together as well as he has this year.
And once again, Norway step up for the podium ceremony, but it will only be second today. Back on the podium though after dropping off it in Ruhpolding, only able to finish fourth last week, and back on the podium today. Stella Holmler-Glide's such a consistent anchor, but Chad's not his strongest day today.
No, not at all, but still, these guys are never going to come for second. They're not here to get second, so they'll be gracious. They'll take the silver medal, but boy, they want this win. And if the trend is anything, the world champion the last 3 times, the relay champion has not been the team who's been dominating the World Cup score. So that might be a little bit of a silver lining for the Norwegians, and they know that. They know exactly that statistic that I just said there, and so they're going to be hungry at the World Championships, and honestly, they're the underdog now.
Yep, they know it because it was Sweden who finished third today, who are the world champions in this event, while it was Norway who were tearing it up on the World Cup circuit. The team led out today by Stella Holmler-Glide, Talia Boe taking the second leg, handing over to Johannes Tingesbo and Vetle Schlossbach Christensen, who will take another medal despite being far from a regular appearance on this World Cup circuit this season. But unbeatable and on top of the world once again, France taking top spot.
Yeah, one time it's an anomaly. 2 times, like, oh, they're lucky. 3 times, pretty hard to deny. 4 times, it's a new world order in the men's relay.
Yep, and you cannot deny this French team their success and flowers. History made, the first French quartet, or first time a French team have gone 4 for 4 consecutive wins on the World Cup circuit, and it has been a quartet that has changed, but back to the order from Kontiolahti and Hopfieldsen, with Fabien Claude leading the way before Quentin Firmin, Eric Perrault, and of course Emilien Jacquelin anchoring this very stable French ship. They received their bouquets made up of what we believe is some local delicacies and sweet treats in there, and they will now have, after tomorrow, plenty of time to enjoy those before the World Championships. But all eyes will be on France. And essentially even more pressure will be going the way of Norway. They go back to the drawing board for the next 2.5 weeks to try and figure out what they can do to deny this French team victory on the World Cup. And it is now the opportunity for the new yellow bib holder to pull on the bib ahead of tomorrow's men's pursuit. Stella Holmler-Glide into the lead in the total point score. Tingesbo watching on from the side of him and laughing. I'm sure he's grateful it's his own teammates that the yellow bib has been handed over to, keeping it in the Norwegian camp. Well, another excellent day of racing here in Antholz. An electric atmosphere And we will be back tomorrow. We kick off with the women's relay at 12:05 Central European time before the men's 12.5 kilometre pursuit at 2:45 Central European time. So not too much time to really enjoy the victory, France. They will all be back tomorrow for the men's pursuit. But we will kick things off with the women's 4x6 kilometre relay. All the action starting here at 12 o'clock Central European time. Our coverage starts, and we do hope you join us then.